The IEP process. The IEP referral process has 8 steps. The first step in the entire process is recognition. In this stage, the teacher notices a persistent issue or need that the student is displaying. The identification of a disparity between a student's age and their intellectual, social emotional, behavioral, and/or physical abilities may indicate that the student needs more academic or behavioral support. The next step is to obtain a pre-referral. During this step, teachers initially look to see if systematic modifications to instruction or other elements of learning environment would be adequately address a child's learning or behavioral issues. If yes, then we can move towards a referral. Here, the student is recommended for an official evaluation. Parents of the student must provide written, informed consent. Once we have consent from the parents, we can move forward with the evaluation. The student is first assessed thoroughly and individually in all areas of concern, including intelligence, achievement, behavioral, disability, specific issues, and medical. The next step is to determine the child's eligibility. First and foremost, every child has the right to a free, appropriate public education according to the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. For specific children with disabilities, one option to fulfill this need is through special education services. During this stage, the evaluation findings for the student are examined in order to address 2 important questions. Does the child have an idea-defined disability that negatively impacts their academic performance? And does the child require special education services in order to benefit from education? If yes, a formal team for an individualized education program will be established to create a plan for the student's special education needs. A formal agreement between the parent and the school district, known as the IEP, outlines the special education services that the local school district, as the education agency, will deliver. The whole IEP team is in charge of making sure that the IEP gets implemented after it has been developed and signed by team members. The last step in this entire process is reevaluation. The IEP team must get together annually to create the next yearly IEP and to assess how well the current one is being implemented. IEP team members. There are many team members that make up the IEP team. According to IDEA 04, at a minimum, it must consist of a parent, a general education teacher, a special education provider, a district representative, and an educational specialist qualified to interpret assessment data. Every member contributes significantly. Parents may offer crucial information about the child's needs, abilities, and priorities, in addition to information regarding the goals and intervention techniques, compatibility for the child's stage of development and culture. If the child is enrolled in general education, then the general educator should be in attendance. This individual's job as a general education curriculum expert entails carrying out the fundamental academic instruction. There should be a minimum of 1 special education teacher or provider in attendance. A specialist in curriculum, adaptations, accommodations, and specifically creating teaching. The special education teacher makes sure that the student performance data are gathered, examined, and adjusted appropriately for intervention and instruction. Also, implementing the IEP is the responsibility of a special education provider. An official from the school district must be certified to oversee or provide the personalized teaching that will fit the needs of the student. They must be educated about the general education curriculum, and they must be aware of the resources that the school has to offer. Lastly, an additional specialist's responsibility is to analyze the assessment findings and inform the team of how those results will affect the instruction. This may include any additional specialists that the child benefits from, including a school psychologist and other examples such as an occupational therapist, speech language therapist, physical therapist, etc. The IEP team members' cooperation is crucial since each one of them is aware of both their own and their colleagues' responsibilities in assisting the student. This facilitates improved collaboration among the IEP team members and helps children receive support outside of the school environment. Ethical principles. The Council for Exceptional Children provides ethical principles that guide collaboration and execution of the IEP process. When it comes to teaching and the assessment, as special education professionals, we must use linguistically and culturally sensitive assessment techniques that precisely measure the objectives and avoid discrimination against those with unique or culturally varied learning requirements. It is crucial to establish a secure, efficient, and culturally sensitive educational environment that supports the realization of good self-concepts, satisfaction of needs, and the stimulation of learning. Lastly, It's important to determine which evidence-based techniques are most useful for addressing the unique requirements for individuals with exceptionalities and that are appropriate for their professional preparation. Maintaining parent-professional communications while respecting privacy, confidentiality, and cultural diversity is crucial if we want parents and families to be involved. We also need to encourage parent education opportunities by utilizing professional approaches and precise, culturally appropriate information. Assessment data and eligibility. Families and other individualized education program team members work together to determine a student's eligibility and identify any exceptionalities, including medical problems. Assessment data, which offers insightful information about a student's capabilities, requirements, and possible growth areas, directs this process. Families are essential to this process. They offer historical information. Families can offer information from the past on a child's behavior, growth, and health. This data may be quite helpful in identifying tendencies and possible problem areas. They also contribute to observations. In addition to the official evaluation data, families can provide observations regarding the child's performance and conduct in various contexts. And they also are advocates. Families act as an advocate for the child's needs, making sure that the evaluation procedure is unbiased, thorough, and considerate of the child's rights. Members of the IEP team, who may include educators, school psychologists, speech language pathologists, and other experts, are also important participants in this process. First, they conduct assessments. Formal evaluations are carried out to assess the child's intellectual, social, emotional, and physical abilities. They also interpret the data. They make sense of the assessment results, pointing out areas of need, strengths, and deficiencies. And they also make recommendations. They provide suggestions regarding the child's eligibility for special education services, as well as the types of supports and interventions that might be helpful based on the assessment results. The following steps usually involved in the cooperation process. Data collection. Members of the IEP team, as well as families, assist in gathering assessment data. Data analysis. To find patterns or areas of need, the IEP team members examine the data. Discussion. The family and the IEP team get together to go over the results. The family has a chance to share their opinions, offer more details, and ask questions at this time. Lastly, making a decision. The IEP team decides if the child is eligible for special education services based on the evaluation results and feedback from the family. Components of the IEP. There are 6 major components that make up an IEP. Number 1, the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance represents the current functional and academic performance of a student based on objective data for monitoring progress and assessments. 2, the educational process outlines the process and timing for reporting on the goal's progress. The statement of related services describes services performed by anyone other than the interventionist specialist. Number 3, supplementary aids and services make it apparent that a child needs specific support in both academic and extracurricular settings. Number 4, modifications are adjustments to the curriculum that make a student's needs in order to access, demonstrate, and participate in the classroom. Number 5, accommodations are made when a student needs specialized assistance in order to acquire new content, demonstrate understanding, and participate fully in every aspect of school life. Lastly, testing placements decide if a student takes alternative assessments or state and the district-wide exams, whether or not they need accommodations. Thank you.